Let's move on now to the other big story that we are tracking, and that is the start of what is called the biggest tri-combat exercise, some would say arguably in the history of the Indian Defence Forces. It's called Exercise Trishul, which is focused primarily on the western sector as well as on amphibious operations. It marks the biggest tri-services drill after Operation Sindoor earlier this year. The aim of the exercise is to validate joint operational procedures, joint theatre commands, enhance interoperability between the three services, and to strengthen network integration amongst all three services. It will also feature extensive maritime operations, including amphibious landings like the INS Jalshawa and the landing craft utility vessels, alongside carrier operations, as well as air and sea coordinated missions between the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force. Now, the exercise involves a significant deployment across all the three services, showcasing their combined operational strength. So here's what each of the three services will be deploying for the Operation Trishul. The Indian Army, 20,000 Indian Army troops will be participating, supported by heavy armor like the T-90 tanks, the Arjun tanks, along with the light machine guns, the howitzers, the light artillery for further fire support. The Air Force will be deploying its frontline fighter jets, including the 4.5 generation Rafale and the Sukhoi 30 MKIs, along with support aircraft like the IL-78 transport aircraft, the refuelers, and also various unmanned aerial vehicles, the UAVs that we saw. A bulk of it we saw during the 4 days of Operation Sindoor, and many are saying that this is the future of warfare, drone warfare. We're seeing this whether in Israel, Gaza, whether it is in Russia, Ukraine, whether it's for surveillance and reconnaissance purposes, or even for frontline attacks. So you will see a lot of UAVs being deployed through Operation Trishul. And then you have the Navy, which has committed major surface combatants, notably the aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, as well as the amphibious transport dock, the INS Jalshawa, demonstrating significant power projection and amphibious warfare capabilities. So what exactly is the significance of Operation Trishul, the exercise itself? What is the message that the Indian services are trying to send out to their enemies? Conducted near Pakistan's western border, the Sir Creek, which, apart from Kashmir, of course, is the other big sort of signal that India is sending out, India's readiness to operate in contested border zones. Pakistan's issuance of airspace restrictions, or NOTAM, effectively a no-fly zone, ahead of the Trishul operation underscores the perception and how it's perceived by the adversaries. Coming after operations like Operation Sindoor, this drill connects with India's active operational posture rather than just a training exercise. The emphasis on theatre commands, joint logistical planning and operations, as well as multi-domain warfare, underlines India's transition to future-ready force structures. By using indigenous platforms and emphasizing Atmanirbharta, the exercise aligns with the broader national defense strategy, and that's all the more important coming as it does in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, the largest exercise that was undertaken by all three services over a period of 4 days back in the summer, back in May.
The idea is to develop systems so that we can do joint planning right from the stage when we are drawing up the conceptual requirements for what we should be doing in a particular exercise, what is it that we want to derive out of the exercise, and then of course put together the assets that are required to participate in the exercise, and then actually execute the exercise on ground. Certainly cyber and information warfare are very important aspects, and therefore we have designed a special cyber exercise as a tri-service element during this phase to run concurrent to the conventional exercises on ground. So that of course will run parallel. Information warfare is again being looked at, and especially how to counter disinformation campaigns. And space assets are going to be central to this exercise. So we will bring together our space assets in terms of surveillance to further refine and to improve the information landscape, as we call it from the marine space, the maritime domain awareness.
And add to all of this twist about the biggest tri-services exercise is US President Donald Trump, who's made a stunning claim that Pakistan, among other countries like Russia and China, has been testing covertly a nuclear device. Now, if this is true, and we have to add the caveat that not everything that Trump says is true, but if it is true, it is a stunning claim and one which has profound implications for India and India's nuclear posture. As two nuclear-armed neighbors, India and Pakistan have had a self-imposed moratorium on nuclear testing for the last almost 30 years. In fact, certainly since the 1998 test. First India tested in Pokhran, and a few days later, Pakistan tested in the Chagai Hills. Since those tests, which were publicly declared and publicly claimed tests, there have been no nuclear devices publicly tested by either India or Pakistan. But now, that could change if Trump's claims are true. First, let me play out what Trump said in an interview to CBS 60 Minutes, and then subsequently I'll break down why what he said is such a big deal.
Russia's testing and China's testing, but they don't talk about it. You know, we're a open society. We're different. We talk about it. We have to talk about it because otherwise you people are going to report. They don't have reporters that are going to be writing about it. We do. No, we're going to test because they test and others test. And certainly North Korea's been testing. Pakistan's been testing. They test way underground where people don't know exactly what's happening with the test. You feel a little bit of a vibration.
In a recent interview to CBS News' 60 Minutes, US President Donald Trump claimed that Pakistan, along with other countries like China and Russia, had been secretly conducting nuclear weapons tests. For India, which already faces a nuclear-armed neighbor in Pakistan, this raises big questions. Should India be concerned about this? Does India need to respond to this as well, perhaps with its own test? And just how balanced is the nuclear equation between the two South Asian rivals? India and Pakistan have fought multiple wars in the last 75 years, and the rivalry is long-standing, although India has won all 4 of the last 4 major wars. Both countries became nuclear-armed states. India tested first in 1974 and then again in 1998 with the Pokhran tests. Pakistan followed shortly after. Today, the nuclear arsenals of India and Pakistan are among the few non-Western powers with substantial number of warheads. According to the International Arms Control Association, India is estimated to possess up to 172 warheads and Pakistan approximately 170 warheads. On the testing front, for decades now, major nuclear powers have pledged to a self-imposed moratorium on explosive tests. This most countries have stuck to for the last 30+ years, but underground tests or covert tests are still technically possible, and that is exactly what Trump is referring to. In the CBS News interview, Trump also said that Russia was testing and China is testing, but they don't talk about it. So the key distinction here is that Pakistan may have been testing, India has its own nuclear arsenal, and the regional balance is fragile. Trump's public claim that Pakistan is testing its nuclear weapons should raise alarm bells in India. What does testing actually mean here? Trump suggests it could be underground detonations or simply non-announced trials of nuclear-capable systems, even though public monitoring is supposed to detect seismic activity. Pakistan, too, has officially not confirmed any such nuclear test publicly. So we're basically dealing with a situation, a claim by a US president, rather than a public assertion of that claim or a repudiation of that claim by the country concerned, which in this case is Pakistan. Which means we have to exercise a degree of caution. However, it is also a recorded fact that in the days and weeks in and around Operation Sindoor, which is when there was a limited war between India and Pakistan over the summer back in May, there were multiple reports of heightened seismic activity that emerged from different parts of Pakistan. It is possible that these were covert nuclear tests, and this is what Trump is referring to. For Pakistan, the nuclear program has been primarily India-facing. Its doctrine, its missile launches, its force posture, they're all largely centered around the India threat. India's nuclear doctrine, on the other hand, has traditionally emphasized NFU, or no first use, though recent strategic shifts may bring this NFU policy under review. So what if Pakistan is indeed covertly testing its nuclear devices? It could signal an expansion of its nuclear arsenal or simply a qualitative improvement of its warheads. meaning it could be new delivery systems, tactical weapons. For India, this raises the pressure to either match or to counter Pakistan's tests. Now, what's important is that the number of warheads alone do not give you the entire story. Delivery systems, whether they fit on missiles, whether they're launched from the air, from fighter jets, or from submarines, the nuclear doctrine, the command and control structure, all of these matter a lot more than just the number of warheads. India has a bigger conventional military, no doubt about it, and that's why India's been able to defeat Pakistan in the last 4 major wars. Pakistan tries to compensate for that via its nuclear posture. So in short, a claim of a covert nuclear test by Pakistan, if it is true, challenges the status quo. And if it does challenge the status quo, it could trigger a reaction loop here in India. It raises the risk of regional arms race. So the question is, why now? Why does this matter for India? India is sandwiched between 2 major nuclear neighbors, Pakistan to its west and China to its north. If Pakistan is enhancing its nuclear capability, it could upset India's strategic calculus. A covert or unannounced nuclear test by Pakistan may reduce the qualitative gap, which would pressurize India to respond, potentially increasing its military spending. It could also alter its basic strategic posture, all of which, of course, would have diplomatic implications. So, from a diplomatic point of view, India has often projected itself as a responsible nuclear power under global non-proliferation frameworks. A destabilizing move from Pakistan would complicate that narrative. It also means India would have to upgrade its deterrence. India may have to accelerate its missile and submarine programs, its nuclear triad, which is the ability to deliver these nuclear weapons from land, air, or sea, to ensure that it has survivable second strike capability. Also, diplomatically, India could raise this issue internationally at the United Nations, at the IAEA, or even through bilateral talks with the United States. It could highlight this claim of a secret nuclear test by Pakistan, which Trump has made, and ask for accountability. India may also need to allocate more resources to its strategic forces, its missile defense, and its early warning systems. And that could have budgetary implications. It could affect domestic priorities. But right now, the big question is, should India test as well? Publicly, India has maintained a moratorium on explosive nuclear testing since 1998. Breaking that moratorium would be a major policy shift. Testing would carry serious international costs, whether it is sanctions, whether it is reputational damage. It could also lead to the possibility of an escalation of an arms race. India must weigh whether the strategic gains outweigh the risks. So the answer is, while India can strongly respond via deterrence upgrades, diplomacy, and conventional force, a full nuclear test would be a last resort, and likely even undesirable unless India's deterrence credibility is perceived to be severely undermined by Pakistan's tests. But all of it depends on whether or not Trump's claim is true.